The words landed like stones. Samantha's mother stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "This is outrageous," she snapped. "Do you have any idea who we are?" The principal met her gaze. "I know exactly who you are. And that is why this ends now." The hall erupted. Some parents argued. Some looked away. Some nodded slowly, as though a truth they had always sensed had finally been spoken aloud. Eric watched Mitchell from across the room, his chest tight. She stood there without shaking. Without shrinking. For the first time, he understood that loving her was not about protecting her from the world, it was about standing beside her while she faced it. Later, after the hall emptied and the damage settled into whispers and phone calls, Mitchell sat alone in the school garden. The night air was cool against her skin. The familiar scent of flowers drifted around her, unchanged by human drama. Eric approached quietly. "I should have stood up sooner," he said. She did not look at him immediately. "I needed you to believe me," she replied. "Not just when it was safe." He nodded, pain flickering across his face. "I failed you." She finally turned to him then, her expression tired but open. "You hesitated," she said. "And that hurt. But you came back. That's not enough, is it?" She thought for a long moment. "Love is not never doubting," she said slowly. "It's choosing truth after doubt. And choosing again." He reached for her hand but stopped halfway, waiting. She closed the distance herself. Inside the building, Mrs. Lawson stood quietly, watching from a distance. When Mitchell passed her later, she stopped her. "I misjudged you," Mrs. Lawson said, her voice low. "And I'm sorry." Mitchell nodded. So did many people. Forgiveness did not arrive immediately. But dignity had returned. And that, Mitchell realized, was the beginning of everything. Justice, Mitchell learned, did not arrive with fireworks. It came quietly, in documents signed behind closed doors, in careful announcements that tried to sound calm even as reputations burned beneath them. Samantha Davis was expelled. The news spread through Kingsbridge in whispers first, then in certainty. Her friends followed, some immediately, others after investigations they could not escape. Names that had once been spoken with admiration were now lowered in embarrassment. Parents who had shouted the loudest about values suddenly discovered the importance of discretion. Mitchell returned to school 2 weeks later. The gates opened for her again, but they felt different now. Students watched her with new eyes, some curious, some respectful, some ashamed. A few offered quiet apologies in the corridors. "I'm sorry," a girl murmured once, not meeting Mitchell's gaze. "I didn't stop them." Mitchell nodded. "I know." She did not demand more. Her scholarship was not only restored, it was strengthened. Additional support was added. Academic mentors were assigned. Kingsbridge wanted to be seen correcting itself. But Mitchell understood something important: institutions rarely changed out of kindness. They changed because silence had become expensive. Still, she took what was offered, not out of gratitude, but purpose. In class, she focused harder than ever. She raised her hand more often. She asked questions that unsettled teachers in the best way. Knowledge, she discovered, was a kind of armor no one could strip away. Slowly, laughter found its way back to her. It arrived in small, surprising moments, when Eric made terrible jokes during study sessions, when she teased him about how helpless he was in the market, when her mother tried to pronounce the names of books Mitchell brought home and gave up halfway, laughing at herself. "You people and your grammar," Mrs. Johnson said once, waving a hand. "Just don't use it to insult me." Eric visited often now, no longer uncomfortable in their small room. He helped carry water, learned how to haggle badly, and once burned rice so terribly that Mitchell laughed until her stomach hurt. "I grew up thinking money solved everything," he admitted one evening as they sat outside. "Turns out it just hides things." Mitchell looked at him. "It hides fear very well." They did not rush what they were becoming. Trust, Mitchell knew now, was not something you handed over. It was something you built, brick by careful brick. At Kingsbridge, the air slowly shifted. Students became more cautious, kinder in ways that mattered. Scholarships were spoken of with more respect. A few teachers changed the way they looked at quiet students in the back rows. It was not perfect. But it was better. Graduation came faster than Mitchell expected. She stood on the stage, hands steady, heart full, as her name was called. Mitchell Johnson. First in her class. Her mother cried openly in the front row, clapping loudly, unconcerned with dignity. Eric cheered until his voice cracked, earning amused looks and indulgent smiles. As Mitchell accepted her certificate, she felt the weight of every cracked ceiling, every whispered insult, every moment she had almost disappeared. She had stayed. Years later, she would stand in courtrooms and lecture halls, fighting for students whose dreams trembled the way hers once had. She would use the law the way some people used money, not to dominate, but to protect. Eric would fund schools quietly, refusing buildings named after him, insisting instead on libraries, counselors, and scholarships with no strings attached. And sometimes, when Mitchell passed the gates of Kingsbridge, she would pause. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude for the girl she had been, and the woman she had become. Some doors, she knew now, did not open because you knock. They open because you refuse to leave. We've come to the end of the story. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, comment and subscribe. You can also turn on your notification bell to be the first to receive alerts of our next video. Bye.